That's what we got to organize. I myself, 2 weeks ago, well, we had a break in both parts. I know.
So, hello everybody. Thank you for being here. I'd like to say a particular welcome to the President of the Borough of Lennoxville, David Price. Thank you, David. This is obviously an issue not just for the Bishop's campus, but for Lennoxville and Sherbrooke. So we're glad to have you here and to be collaborating with the city. This is an important exercise for bishops. It's not something, I don't know if we've ever done this. And if we have, it certainly has been several generations since we have. And whether you're a student or a faculty member or staff or part of the administration, we all tend to focus on what we're going to try and do today, what we're going to try and get done this week or maybe even this semester, but we don't often have an opportunity to think really in the longer term for ourselves and certainly not for our institution. And this is a unique moment for us to be thinking through not just what we want bishops to be and look like next year, but for many, many decades into the future. My hope is that some of the people in this room, 20, 30, I guess it won't be me, but 40 years from now, we're going to come back to this campus and see on the campus the results of some of the decisions that we made as a consequence of this process. So it is an exceptionally important undertaking, and I'm glad that we're going to have the opportunity with you today, and I'm sure with many more members of our staff tomorrow to have our architects present to you the ideas that have emerged. You all know we have a beautiful campus. I think it is our responsibility to make sure that it remains so, not just for ourselves, but obviously for successive generations. Now, you'll remember, some of you, that when we first started talking about the Sports Center project, we brought together, I think it was more than 100 people from across the campus to begin to kind of strategize around that. And in that consultation process, it quickly became evident that we couldn't really talk about the Sports Center if we didn't talk about the evolution and the development of the campus as a whole. So out of that meeting, our architects were able to discern some of the highest concerns that the members of the Bishop's community were expressing. The desire that the campus be more of a walking campus, that we have more informal meeting places, that we do something about, I guess, what we think is the third entrance of the campus to make it a little bit more stately and appropriate as an entrance to the campus. So guided by those principles, our professionals have been working away. There's been a steering committee, I think about 15 of us from across the campus who have been giving them both support and guidance and input as they go forward. And they've also had discussions with a whole variety of different constituents across the campus over these couple of months to get us to where we are today. So ideally, when we finish this process, we are going to have a blueprint that's going to guide development for the campus for many decades to come. It's important to say that what you're going to see today is a working document. So this is, there's a lot of work that's gone into it, but this is an opportunity for you to provide your input either in the questions and comments that you have today, or there's an opportunity to comment online. There will be another meeting tomorrow, and we will bring forward another iteration of this. We're going to share it with our Board of Directors, Board of Governors tomorrow evening, and then hopefully sometime this spring we'll be able to come to a conclusion as to what we want the final document to contain. So I don't take up too much time. Let me just tell you a bit about the professionals that we've had the great privilege and pleasure to work with. There are two significant firms that we've been working with. The first is Peter Rose Architects. Peter and his firm are based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Peter holds a BA and a Master of Architecture degree from Yale University. I think it's fair to say he is considered to be a leader in the architectural design profession in North America. He's done a lot of significant work both here in Canada and in the United States. Some of the the work that you may know, if you're a Montrealer, you've certainly been to the old Port of Montreal, and it was Peter who developed the design for the renovation of the old port, which I think has been a brilliant success. He was also responsible for the Canadian Centre for Architecture, many other projects, but those are two that at least Montrealers might know. His colleague, Paul Pucciato, holds a Bachelor of Architecture Design from the University of Florida and a Master of Architecture degree from the Harvard University Graduate School of Design. Paul's sitting in the second row in the middle there, and I'm sure he'd be pleased to talk to you, if not during the presentations afterwards. He's had a very varied and impressive experience. He's worked on projects like the Harvard University Art Museums, the Detroit Symphony, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. So that's one firm. And the other firm that Peter has brought in to collaborate on this project is called Michael van Valkenburg Associates. That's a landscape architecture firm. They've done a wide range of work on landscapes of a wide variety of scales, from city to campus to gardens. They've won all sorts of honors. I'm not going to list all of them to you, but I think just by some of these names you'll recognize how respected they are. The American Society of Landscape Architects, the U.S. National Park Service, the Municipal Art Society of New York City, the Royal Architecture Institute of Canada, the National Trust for Historic Preservation. So this is one of the premier landscape architect firms in the world at this point. One project you probably have, at least in your mind's eye, if you have a sense of the grounds in front of the White House. You know, Pennsylvania Avenue you used to be able to drive through in front of the White House. You can no longer. But the redesign of all that was done by their firm. They're working on the lower Donlands. For any of you from Toronto, you know, where the Don River arrives in Lake Ontario, there's a major urban design project that's underway, and their firm's responsible for that. They're doing a major project in St. Louis at the Arch. So a lot of really significant things that they've done. They've worked on a lot of campuses, just so you know: Vassar, Princeton, Rockefeller University. They restored the Harvard Yard. So lots of experience in our types of institutions. Let me just tell you a bit about the three people from that firm, and then I'm going to hand it over to them. So the lead on our project is Laura Solano. She holds a Bachelor of Landscape Architecture from Ohio State University. She's an expert in the field of landscape technology and sustainability. Her particular areas of expertise include the integration of biological management programs in planting design, the use of sustainable soils, and the utilization of all landscape materials. Her colleague, Neil Budzinski, is a Canadian, holds a BA in Fine Arts from Concordia. After 10 years of practice as a landscape photographer and a student of the post-industrial landscape, Neil pursued a Master of Landscape Architecture from the University of Virginia before he joined Michael van Valkenburg and Associates in 2006. I think I'm going to shorten this so I won't tell you the projects that he's worked on. And finally, I guess a new recruit to their firm who's with us today, Claire Edelman, got her Master of Landscape Architecture from Harvard's Graduate School of Design in 2011, and is involved in many of the projects that the firm is working on. So we're very fortunate to have people of such talent, experience, and I think one of the reasons we chose them is that they just instinctively understand who Bishops is, and what it is that we are and what it is that we want to be. I'm a very strong believer, my colleagues know this, in identifying what your strengths are and then focusing on improving your strengths. And one of the great strengths of Bishops is this remarkable landscape and architectural heritage that we have. So it's a great opportunity for us to work with these outstanding people to try and make sure that we ensure that it remains the really exceptional place that it is. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the architects. I think the plan is for them to talk for about an hour or so, and then there'll be time for question and interaction from all of us. So, Peter or Laura? Peter? Both? Sure. All right.
Both of us.
Vas-y.
You got the... Oh, we're wired. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you all for coming. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I have to say, I love theaters. It's just a fabulous room. So, my colleague Laura Solano and I will take you through, whoops, you're disappearing into the dark. We will take you through the thought process and some of the preliminary conclusions that we've made about possible futures for the campus. I might say just briefly, we've collaborated a lot. We, as architects, almost never work without landscape and many other collaborators. And it's a great pleasure. It's fascinating, and it's a privilege to work with Michael and his colleagues. Michael, who's an old friend of mine and colleague of mine. So we might, in the course of this, explain a little bit why a master plan is done by the two firms, but it should be relatively straightforward to understand. There's a lot of landscape and there are a lot of buildings, and we'll make a case for them being integral, inseparable parts of a larger whole. I
would just like to underline something that Michael said, which is, we're really at the commencement of this work, in a sense. We have worked for over a year or so on